here. We'll start with the West, in Gonzaga's region. Everybody's got the Zags as the heavy favorite. First round, your favorite first round matchup in the West is what, Rob?
I went Virginia, Ohio. I think because Jason Preston is an awesome story. I think Virginia coming off this COVID pause is a major question mark for them. And I just, I think when you look at it, the way Ohio finished the year 12-3, they can really score. And I just think that with Virginia's tempo, that's there's a good amount of interesting storylines that are jam-packed into that game.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Jason Preston, for those who haven't seen him, is a 6'5" guard with incredible court vision and passing ability, and his shot has been terrific lately. That was kind of the one thing that maybe some people questioned with him. He came out of nowhere, didn't play high school basketball really, and his story is amazing. But he's got good size. He can pass it. He can shoot it. The big thing is probably his motor. But the Kihei Clark-Jason Preston matchup will be tremendous because Kihei is one of the best defenders in the country.
And ask Illinois what it was like playing against Jason Preston all the way back in November. They remember, I promise.
Almost beat him. I was down at the Mohegan Sun watching that one. And they have more than that, too. I mean, they got a kid, Ben Vanderplas, who's an inside-out guy. He can shoot the three, 6'8", 4-man. So they've got some players there. And, again, the thing with Virginia that we got to talk about is they had a player get hit with COVID, and they're not leaving. They're not leaving until either probably Friday, but maybe late Thursday night. They're not leaving for Indianapolis. We don't know how much they're able to practice right now. So how rusty are they going to be? They're going to miss a player. I'm told he's a rotation player, not one of their key guys, not Huff, not Hauser, one of their rotation guys. But there's contact tracing. So a lot of these kids aren't able to practice right now, and they're going to get there the night before rather than all these other teams. Like Kansas has the same issue with a key player, a starter who's going to be out, according to my sources. But they're going to get there tomorrow. So is it better? It may be better. It could be an advantage for Virginia that they're not going till Friday and they're staying in Charlottesville. But I would think it's a detriment, not being able to practice. And I'm with you. I like Ohio here. I like them in the upset. I don't know if you're calling the upset or not, but I'm calling the upset.
I'm going to. I just think the COVID has been such a huge part of the year, and for the most part, when people have gotten it, first game back, no good. So I'm going to go Ohio.
Your favorite, your most intriguing second round matchup. I think we're going to have the same one here, but go ahead.
I went Oklahoma Gonzaga, which may seem weird because Gonzaga is so good, and you're looking at that 1-8-9 game, and I mean, anything can happen in this tournament. So there's been good 1-8-9 games, but 3 weeks ago we were talking about Oklahoma as like a 2 seed. Like it spiraled quickly. They lost the Kansas State game was a killer, and they lose at Kansas State, and then their schedule was so back and loaded, but Lon Kruger can really coach. There's really good guards in that game. Austin Reeves can go. I mean, he can really make plays. He can score it. He can pass. I just think it could be a really interesting game. I love watching Lon Kruger teams because when they find something that works and they find the weak link defensively, it's for the throats. They do it. They'll run the same play 9 times in a row. They'll run until you stop it.
It's like the NBA mentality.
Gonzaga has some studs, but I really think that could be an intriguing game.
Austin Reeves, Devion Harmon, Umoja Gibson, 3 guards that are all a little bit different, but they can all play. And again, I'm not sure they can match Gonzaga, but they can make that game entertaining at the very least. And to me,
Brady Manek is a shooter.
He's the key.
The one thing is they cannot get crushed on the glass because they're going to play Manek at the 5. They've got Victor Iwuakor and they've got the other big fella, Kirk Weth. But you just feel like they don't want to play him. They want to go 4 guards and Manek and play Elijah Harkless at the 4 and just get their game on.
All right, so our upset is Ohio over Virginia. My first round matchup that I really like that we haven't talked about is UC Santa Barbara against Creighton, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
And UC Santa Barbara has a couple dudes. They got Joe Pasternak coaches them. I don't really get along with Joe very well, but we'll talk about that another time. But Pasternak coaches him, and he was an assistant at Arizona under Sean Miller, who's a head coach in New Orleans years ago, and he's done it with all transfers, high major transfers. McLaughlin is a 6'4", 6'5" point guard, Ja'Cory McLaughlin, who can shoot and facilitate. Miles Norris, 6'10", Oregon transfer, who's athletic. He can shoot it. He can step out. Amadou Sow is an athletic 6'9" big. So that they have high major size. No doubt about it. They have high major size. They're better in the front court than Creighton. The question, the McLaughlin matchup, honestly, with Marcus Zagorowski is going to be terrific. I mean, really, really good. The big thing to me is going to be, how does Creighton rebound from that absolute embarrassment against Georgetown in the Big East title game? So it's going to be a hell of a game. I'm looking forward to that more than even the Ohio-Virginia game. I think Creighton will end up winning this one, but I think it'll be a hell of a game.
They've had such a weird season. What a weird 3 weeks for Creighton. Yeah. I just wonder how emotionally spent those dudes are, because it's been like, when you talk about the worst possible scenario for these guys, and you have this deal with Greg McDermott, and you get to the final, and usually you'd be like, all right, that's great, we wish we would have won, but in a conference like the Big East or the Big Ten, like, you got to beat some people to get there. But the way they lost in the final, they weren't competitive at all. They got killed. So I just wonder if they've got any gas left in the tank. And it's certainly a weird situation there in Omaha. And I think that when you look at a team that has big time talent like UC Santa Barbara does in this, in the transfer round, that could be a recipe for disaster for them.
All right, top players in the West region, Rob. Go ahead, rattle off a couple, and then I'll fill in what you missed.
The Gonzaga guys stand out. Drew Timme, Corey Kispert, certainly. Evan Mobley. Yep. Maybe the production isn't what some of these other guys are given, and he's had a really good year after being a little inconsistent early in the season. I'll go Austin Reeves. I think he's got big time game, and then Luka Garza. You can't forget about him for Iowa down in the 2 spots. So there's a lot of good players in this region, and
you might have the
guys that can really score the ball.
You might have the number 2 and 3 picks with Evan Mobley and Jalen Suggs in the West region.
Right.
And
and Jalen Suggs, certainly, you can't leave him off the list either.
Yeah, and Chris Duarte from Oregon, another guy that you got to watch, who's terrific. And I think Oregon could make some noise in this one. I really want to see an Oregon-Iowa second-round matchup. I think it could be fun to watch. Oregon really spreads you out, have a lot of guards, well coached, obviously, with Dana Altman. We know that. But Chris Duarte is one of the better players that nobody talks about in the country. All right, biggest storyline in the West region. I'll go first on this one. I think it's pretty easy. It's kind of Gonzaga. Can they just keep this thing going ultimately and roll through? And I selfishly, Rob, I'd like to see a Gonzaga-Iowa matchup in the Elite Eight, just because I'd like to see Luka Garza get that far and play Gonzaga. We saw it already, and it wasn't that exciting. That's the only problem with it.
It was like the not closest 10-point game you could ever have in a basketball game.
It was never in
felt
doubt.
Like Iowa had a chance to actually make something interesting happen. I think that's a real look at the bracket, though. Kansas, I think I would pick them in a heartbeat if they were not going through this COVID deal, which is hilarious because a month ago or a month and a half ago, you'd be like, man, Kansas, they'll be lucky to get out of the first weekend.
Yeah.
And now you're picking them as an Elite 8 team.
Right.
Yeah. But
it's Bill Self.
What you said about the starter being out and can they practice? I mean, that's tough. So to me, I think the Elite 8 is going to be Gonzaga and Iowa coming out of the West.
Any other really good storyline that you see coming out of there? Anything else that kind of stands out to you? Again, Kansas, I think the
I
injuries.
think Kansas had a storyline in the sense that this could have been like redemption for a regular season where people just wrote them off and they could have still made something out of it. But the COVID thing certainly scares, I think, anybody. Other than that, Gonzaga is the whole story. Can they become a team that reaches that immortality? The Indiana type deal where people still talk about them, the last undefeated team. And that was from the 70s, So I think that even in a weird season like this, to not lose a game, and even though they had some big games canceled that would have been awesome, and you have to think of the Baylor game. I think they're really the only story here in the West.
I can't believe we went through the whole region and we did not mention your boy Bryce Drew and the fact that he's got two bigs, Rob. Rob, he's got two bigs that he can throw at Luka.
Yeah, that's true. They're going to have the size.
Alessandro Lieber is really good, 6'10", plays hard, and the kid from Wichita, Asborn Midgard, has been awesome this year. And
they're going to throw size and bodies at him, that's for sure. But I really like Joe Wieskamp, and if CJ Frederick is healthy, I love Bryce, but I think Iowa is pretty good.